Well, hello there, Skywinders. Welcome back to another episode of Skywind 007. On today's episode, we have something very different. This is an oil-filled radiator heater by Mainstays. So the main reason why I got this is because I wanted to know what is it for? Why does it exist? How is it better or worse than a regular heater? I checked online on YouTube and elsewhere, and I watched a bunch of videos of people reviewing this, and they would not answer that question. Why does this exist? What is it for? Why would you go for this instead of this? What is the benefit? Nobody can tell you that online. I checked the Amazon reviews. Nobody can answer that question for some reason. So I decided to just get it and find out myself. As you can see, it's a very different heater than this, and it works differently. Before we start talking about it, let's look around this heater and let's see what its parts are and how it's made. At the front we have the panel. It's a very basic panel. It's basically the same as that. You have an indicator light, you have a thermostat, and you have heat options. So you have 0, 1, 2, and 3. And then this is the thermostat. It works exactly the same as these other types of heaters. Over here it's going to get very hot. Down here it's going to get very it's going to stop working. So you decide where you want to set it. The indicator light stays on regardless of whether it's heating or not, so long as it's on the 1, 2, or 3 options. If you have it on 0, the indicator light turns off. So on the right side of the heater we have basically nothing. You can see right through it. You have this fins. We do have this. This is the cord wrap, but it's not that essential to even talk about it. You just wrap the cord when the heater's not in use, and you can hide that. On the left side there's nothing again. You can see right through it. On the top there's nothing, and on the back there is nothing. On the bottom there's not much except the wheels, which came detached. You do have to attach them. They're very easy to do, no big deal. And you will not need any tools. They're the butterfly types of screws, so you don't worry about screwdrivers. You don't need one. And that's it. Of course, the cord, it's a standard cord. I live in the United States, but if you order this from Europe, it'll be a European cord. So there we have it. So I have a bunch of questions that I had before I bought this, and now I have the answers to them. Question number 1.
Is a radiator heater significantly different than other heaters?
The answer to that question is no. Radiator heaters do basically the same thing, except they don't have a fan.
Are radiator heaters more energy efficient than other heaters?
The answer is no. They provide more continuous heat.
Are radiator heaters safer?
The answer is a little. Since they don't have a fan that can fail, there is no concern about the fan failing. They do have overheat protection and tip over protection.
Do radiator heaters need oil change?
The answer is no. The oil that it's in there is there for the lifetime of the heater.
Are radiator heaters completely quiet?
The answer is yes. They do have a click on the thermostat, but it's barely hearable.
Do radiator heaters warm a room quicker than other heaters?
The answer is no. They are actually slower, significantly slower.
Do you recommend radiator heaters around children and pets?
The answer is no. They are too tall and heavy. Even with the tip over protection, they are heavy and take a long time to cool down. So what that means is that if this falls on somebody, you can't just turn it off and expect the heat to go away. It's going to continue to burn you. And they're very tall, so it's easy to tip them over. So I do not recommend it around children and pets.
So what's the huge advantage of a radiator heater?
Mainly, they are completely silent. If noise is an issue to you, that's the big advantage of having a radiator heater. Also, since they don't have a fan, they are likely to last longer because fan failure is the main cause of a heater stopped working. And also it's less dangerous because when the fan stops working, the heater will overheat, but these are not meant to be working with a fan. Also, they are easier to clean because they have these slits. You can get in there and it's very easy to clean. You can get your hand in there. You can't do that on that. There is no way to clean the interior on this thing. Everything's out of reach.
How slow are radiator heaters to start heating?
They take about 15 minutes to start heating, so they are 15 minutes slower than a regular heater.
Can radiator heaters work without power?
They cannot work without power, but they do take a while to cool down. So if you cut the power, they'll take about 15 minutes to completely cool down.
Are radiator heaters easy to transport?
No, they are large and heavy. That's why they have wheels.
Can a fan be added to a radiator heater?
Yes, having a fan blow at a radiator heater greatly helps distribute the heat.
Can a radiator heater be left unattended?
According to the manufacturer, no.
What is the power consumption on a radiator heater?
On this radiator heater, the power consumption is 1500 watts max, and that's about the same with any heater. I live in the United States and the regulation says that a heater cannot produce more than 1500 watts. The regulation is different in other countries like the European Union, so check your local regulations if you're interested in that.
Are radiator heaters easier to clean than other heaters?
This mainstay model is easier to clean because the fins are large and far apart. Other radiator heaters are not. So the answer is yes for this model. Okay, so one of the questions that I made was relevant to this right here, this configuration, where you have the radiator heater and you have this separate fan. So you might be wondering, why not just get a heater that already has a fan? Kind of like this one. The size says everything. This has a very tiny fan, and this is huge. So if you're trying to heat up a huge room, you're not going to want to rely on this. Remember, this and this have the same power consumption, 1500 watts. So it's not about power consumption, it's about the ability to circulate the hot air. And remember, if you have a huge living room, I'm not talking about a bedroom. If you have a bedroom, all you need is either this or this, doesn't matter. The central heating in your house completely fails. That's the scenario. And then you want to heat up your house. How do you do it? You're not going to be able to do it with this, not when it's snowing outside. So this is what you can do right here. Use this 1500 watts, just the same as that, but having this huge fan. So you're not going to find a heater commercially available that has a fan like this. So you have to make your own. This is a makeshift configuration. So I did this off camera already. I did this experiment and it does blow a whole lot of air. So it works perfectly for that scenario if you have a central heating that fails, but you still have power. You have to have power for this and this. So you have power, the central heating failed, it's snowing outside, and you want to heat up your living room or your whole house possibly. So this is what you can do. And like I said, I did this off camera. I'm not going to demonstrate it because it's not possible to demonstrate. Let me turn on the fan. So this is how it's going to look like. And I did notice that it works massively well as far as circulating heat around the living room. So this is, like I said, it's makeshift, but it works perfectly, and you can only really do it with this kind of heater, the radiator heater. You wouldn't be able to do it with something like this no matter what you do. This already has a tiny little fan that doesn't circulate enough heat to heat up an entire living room or the whole house when it's snowing outside. And I know I said that already, but this is the idea. This is the big idea. So that's the one huge thing where you want to have this, and I do recommend it for this situation. It's not on the manual. If you read the instructions, it's not going to say anything about adding a fan, but trust me, it works, and it works great. Even when you turn that off, because it's an oil filled heater, you're going to still feel the heat going through it. Okay, so another thing I want to talk about is the controls right here. So as you can see, this is not graduated. This is a thermostat right here, and it's not graduated. So you don't know which place is 80, 85, where it's 78, whatever your preference is. So I've done some experimentations, and I'm going to put a chart, I'm going to put a graphic, I should say, on the screen right now, which shows you the where the temperatures would be, where they align, and where the ideal temperature is. So if you look there, that's where you want to be. So in general, you want to be somewhere between 9 and 12 o'clock. So I would say somewhere like 10 and 11 o'clock, that position, the 10 o'clock position or the 11 o'clock position, you'll be comfortable there if you leave it there. And I researched the ideal temperature, and according to what I found, that's the ideal temperature that you see right there. I believe that's for most people, but everybody's different. But this is just a general guidance, and that's according to my experimentation. Okay folks, so we have reached the end of this review. So the big question is, do I recommend this heater? It really depends on you and your situation. If you have pets and kids, absolutely not. Stay away from this. Some kid or some pet is gonna tip this over, and these don't cool down very easily. Even though it does have a tip over protection, they stay hot for 15 minutes or so. So it's gonna burn the carpet or whatever it falls on for that long, 15 minutes, even when it's turned off or in a tip over protection cuts power. So it's not for people with little children or pets. So that's a scenario where you don't want it. Also, if you're gonna be moving it around a lot, if you're 85 years old, you're gonna be moving this around, or you live upstairs on the 3rd floor, something like that, this is very heavy for a person that's that old or that frail. For me, it's fine. I can take this anywhere. But for a person with a disability or a very old person, I don't think that they're gonna be able to move this too much. If you live in one floor, like a 1-floor apartment, 1-floor house, I think it'll work. But if you live on a 2nd floor, 3rd floor, or anything like that, I don't recommend it. Even if you have an elevator, you don't want to be messing with this. So stay away from it if you're going to use it on a 2nd floor or 3rd floor. Now, if sound is an issue for you, I would recommend this. Yes, absolutely. And the reason why I say this is I think most people won't be bothered by the fan on this right here. So you can buy this if you want. But there are situations where having a completely quiet heater is a good thing. And I can tell you right now, I have a room in my house, I'm in it right now, that is dedicated as a cinema room. I call it the cinema room, where I like to watch movies. But sometimes it gets cold, so I need a heater. And I don't want a heater that's making sounds while I'm watching a movie. So that's a good thing to have when you have when you're watching a movie. You don't want hearing a fan going in the middle of the movie. So this is great for that scenario where you're watching a movie and you want complete silence. So that's one situation where I recommend it for a movie theater or room that you have in your house, or where you're watching a movie and you want complete silence. This is your heater right there. Now, a scenario where you wouldn't want to get this heater is a situation where you want immediate heat right away. Like, for example, you come into a bedroom or any room and you want heat right away. This is not going to provide heat right away. So that's going to be an issue for you. You want something that has a fan like this. This takes about 15 to 20 minutes to heat up. It's a long time. This will produce immediate heat. So if you want heat right away, go for something like this. Stay away from that. And the last thing I want to say about this is that when I bought it, I thought it was gonna be an issue that it didn't have a fan, because I thought it would be hot near the heater. It would be cool or cold everywhere else. But it turns out that's not the case. It does heat up a room fairly evenly, even without a fan. So that's not a concern for a normal bedroom, like a medium-sized bedroom, even a large bedroom. But if you have that scenario where you want to heat up the whole house or a whole living room, I just gave you an example of that, so do that. So that is my conclusion. So thank you for watching, subscribe, and thumbs up.